Hello everyone, welcome to the midweek molt. Here is your host Robbie from robbiestalkingts.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 6 of the midweek molt, my weekly podcast that I do talking about everything in the hobby, answering your questions that you may have, discussing any topics that may be going on in and around the hobby, and just giving my thoughts and views in general when it comes to keeping these amazing animals. And today's podcast we're going to be talking about this, the brown stuff, Substrate, and also we're going to be talking about my plans for 2022, seeing as this year is coming to an end very quickly. I'm going to be talking about my goals and what I hope to reach by this time next year. But first off, let's talk about Substrate. In last week's podcast, I got asked a question on what I think is the best substrate for tarantulas. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a little talk about it because a lot of people in the hobby swear by different mixtures, what they use, what they think is best. So I thought I'd go through what I use and what I find to be the most optimum, also the pros and cons of that mixture. So here it is. This is a little sample of my substrate. Now in here it is a really basic mix. This is cocoa fibre, the blocks that I showed you in the last video that I did, $2.99 from the spider shop. Mix that with water, let it fluff up, let it dry out a little bit, and you're good to go with it. It also contains topsoil. Now topsoil is great, especially when it's mixed with cocoa fibre. It does hold humidity and release it slowly, and also is great for burrowing tarantulas. And also in this mix is vermiculite. Now that is the basic mix that I use. I find it great. I find that for moisture dependent species it does allow water to drain down to the bottom so that spiders can dig down and find the moisture that they need. For terrestrial species that prefer it a little bit drier, it hardens up pretty quickly and becomes very dry and very solid, which I find they enjoy as well. And arboreals, obviously Substrate isn't really a big deal. Now sometimes in this mix I like to add ground up, chopped up pieces of sphagnum moss, and yeah, that's what I use. I mean, you can use cocoa fibre on its own and you can use topsoil on its own. They're both perfectly viable, but I prefer to mix it up in that way. So yeah, that is my substrate mix. There's nothing, no magic recipe, there's no outlandish, rare or random, should I say, items in there. I mean, I could add charcoal in there. Some people like to do that. Some people do like to add bark chips into their substrate. Also, that looks good inside of an enclosure. But as long as I've got that basic mix in there, my tarantulas have all been fine. Now, the only cons that I have found with using this mix is topsoil. Now, unfortunately, I've had a few bags in the past which I've mixed up, and because of using topsoil, I have found gnats inside, little flies. Now, unfortunately, sometimes you get topsoil and these gnats have laid their eggs in it, and once it gets a bit moist and the air gets to it, those eggs hatch, and before you know it, you've got an infestation of gnats. So that is something to take into consideration. But if you are worried about that happening, do not fear. All you have to do to get rid of that is sterilize the soil, just pop it in the oven, 180 degrees for about 30 minutes. It sterilizes the topsoil and should get rid of that problem. Now, I only learned that last year when I did have an infestation of gnats, and I was researching ways on how to get rid of them, because nobody likes enclosures full of nasty gnats, especially your tarantulas. I'm sure they find them bothersome. It probably stresses them out. So yeah, just do that if you're going to be using topsoil. Also, cocoa fibre on its own have a lot of issues where if you're housing a moisture dependent species, then if you keep adding moisture to cocoa fibre, it does have the tendency to mould up. And even though most mould is not harmful towards your tarantula, it's not going to affect it, it is very unsightly. So if you are just using cocoa fibre, then be prepared that you may have to change it out at some point. If you have to keep it dry, it's perfect. My Brachypelma homori, my first tarantula that I ever got in the collection, has got pure cocoa fibre, and where it's never got wet, never got moist, I've kept it really dry. It's still got the same cocoa fibre from years ago, and it's absolutely fine. It's perfect. The tarantula's not bothered. It's happy as Larry. So keep that in mind when using cocoa fibre on its own. But I have found using this mix sort of eliminates the mould problem. Don't get me wrong, occasionally a little mushroom or something will pop up here and there, but you know, as quick as they pop up, they die, or you can just pluck it out and move on with your day. It's not really a huge issue. So hopefully that's covered Substrate. The next topic on the podcast is my goals for 2022. Now, 2021's been a great year for the channel. We managed to reach that 1,500 subscriber goal that I set, and we smashed it. We're closing in on 1,600 subscribers, which is absolutely awesome. So thank you to everyone that subscribed. Watch time, I did set the target of getting 4,000 watch hours on the channel just so I could get monetized. Now, I've not made it a big secret. I do want the channel to get monetized just purely because any money that I earn from the channel is going to go in towards breeding projects and getting cheap tarantulas out to you, which is going to be something I discuss more in depth in a future podcast. Unfortunately, we haven't quite reached 4,000 hours this year. We've got something like 3,260 something, I believe, at the minute. So we got this close to the channel being monetized. So next year, hopefully, I'm gonna try and, well, I am going to improve the content and try and deliver more regularly with the podcast, with the regular weekly Saturday videos. So hopefully in 2022 we can reach that 4,000 hours. Subscriber wise, we are still aiming for that 2,000 subscribers. I can't wait to do the T. Celadonia giveaway. That is going to be absolutely awesome. I did it at 1,000 subscribers, so doing it again at 2,000 will be just as awesome. I can't wait. Also, thinking about the T. Celadonia giveaway, I was wondering, like, should I do that like every 1,000 subscribers, give away a T. Celadonia? Or do you think that would be a bit much? It's up to you guys. Do you think that's a good idea? Or do you think, nah, you don't need to do giveaways on the channel? Whatever you guys think, pop it in the comments. I'll read it, I'll take it into consideration, and we'll decide when we start up in the new year whether that's going to be something we do every year. Also, it's coming up to Christmas. This will be the last podcast before Christmas. So if you're listening to this in and around Christmas, Merry Christmas. I hope you're having a great day. I do plan on having a video out on Christmas Day, and it's one of 2 videos which also I want you guys to get involved in. I'm gonna put up a poll after I release this video, and I'm gonna ask you the question, what do you want to see? You've got a choice of a rehousing Lacidora Klugi, tongue twister, Lacidora Klugi, or rehousing Pisliferia Hanamavilla. So it's up to you guys what you want to see on Christmas Day. If you want to see anything on Christmas Day at all, it's up to you. If not, I'll just choose one at random and pop whatever one up that you guys want to see. What other goals do we have? I want to do more collaborations this year with other YouTubers. That I'm also starting out with these podcasts. Another thing to get you guys more interactive and involved with the channel. If any of you guys want to do a video chat or a voice chat with any questions or any stories or anything that you have to say regarding the hobby, or anything you want my views on or advice on, please drop me an email, because in future podcasts I will be doing subscriber one-on-ones, which hopefully should be interesting, not just for me, because I obviously enjoy all the interaction I get with my subscribers, and it's a good way for me to get to know you, get to know your experience in the hobby, share ideas, possibly have debates. The world is our oyster next year. So hopefully that's something you guys are interested in. If it is, email me, robbiestalkingts@outlook.com, or you can get me on my social media on Instagram, which is robbiestalkingts, Twitter, which is robbiestalkingts. Any one of them, just drop me a message and I will happily get back to you and we can arrange something. I've got one planned for the 28th, which will be the first video session, but I'm not going to tell you who it's with or what it's about just yet. It's going to be a surprise, it's going to be fun, it's going to be interesting, but no, it's going to be about the beginner's perspective of the hobby, their experience of just starting out in the hobby and how they found it so far when it comes to meeting others in the hobby, learning about tarantulas, etc, etc. So I'm looking forward to that. More plans we've got for next year, definitely getting to more invert shows. Now this year we went to Bristol and we went to the Brighton show, which was absolutely fantastic. I appreciated all the happy birthdays that I got when I was at the Brighton shows. So everyone that come up and said hello and wished me happy birthday, thank you very much. I really appreciated it. But I definitely want to get to C's this year. Also, I have to get to the BTS. Now, I recently become a member of the British Tarantula Society, so going to a BTS show is going to be that little bit more special for me. Now I'm part of the British Tarantula Society, and it will be my first BTS show, so it will make it that little bit more special. What else do I want to do this year? I want to start up my breeding projects. As I said, this year I want to heavily focus on getting more captive bred slings into the hobby. I discussed it on a recent podcast how I believe that captive bred slings is definitely the way to go, and making the hobby more sustainable is an absolute must, especially with the rise in prices recently. if there's a way that we can bring the costs down and make it more affordable to the average person, then that can only be a good thing. So that's another thing I definitely want to focus on. I want to open up my own invert sales shop. As you guys may or may not know, I am part owner of Creature Crate, and with that going the way that it has the past year, I think it's good for me to expand on that and just bring more to the hobby. And I think that the individual sales of tarantulas will be just as good as what we do over on Creature Crate. That's another thing, you guys, if you haven't checked out Creature Crate yet, go over. There's a Facebook group, there's an Instagram page that we run. There's also www.creaturecrate.co.uk. Over there we do sell the monthly invert boxes. You can buy them as a one-off, or you can get a 12-year subscription. That's up to you if it's something you want to get involved in. Either way, they're great boxes, great items in them. You can't go wrong with picking one up. Also on the site we sell tarantula merchandise like t-shirts, hats, key rings, all that good stuff. So if you're into, like, you know, like when you go to invert shows, you want to show off you're a tarantula keeper, I guarantee you on the website there will be something for you. So make sure to check that out. I'm not sure on what my tarantula sales shop is going to be called yet. I'm toying with a few names, but hopefully next year I can come out and tell you guys, hey, my new shop's open, it's called, and you guys will be excited and check it out. So yeah, that's my goals for this year. Just expand and grow, and also get to know my community a lot better. Well, I've rambled on now for 17 minutes. I think that's going to be the end of this podcast. Make sure to check out the poll that I'll be posting and let me know what video you want to see. I appreciate you coming to this podcast. I know I haven't had a lot to say. It is right before Christmas. I don't want to bore you with really in-depth topics when all you guys want to do, sit down, put your feet up and chill out with your family and just enjoy the time off work. So on that note, I'll end it here, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.